Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Final score in this one, 79-72. Kansas finishes 21-13. Remember, they went 11-9 in the Big 12. They finished in 5th place in the Big 12. And don't forget this, too, actually 6th place now that I'm looking at it. They finished in 6th place. And even at the Big 12 tournament, a place that they have dominated, they struggled. Needed overtime to beat UCF. And then from there got smoked by Arizona in what is a de facto home court for the Jayhawks. And so listen, I think to me, there is a big picture conversation to have about Kansas. And here's the deal. We would be having it even if they had won today. This was not a team that was built for a deep tournament run. And I think for the first time of the Bill Self era, it's time to ask some serious questions about this team. And I'll tell you this, I think it is time to talk some serious questions about one thing in particular. And that particular topic is this. How did they spend their NIL money this offseason? Okay. So here's the bottom line. I actually saw this tweet from John Rothstein. I forgot to get this to producer Matt, but I thought this was a very interesting. Oh, producer Matt, did I send it to you? Or are you just that good? I don't know. But John Rothstein, who never says, I love John. Okay. So this is not a criticism. I don't criticize other media members. I actually like John a lot, but he tweeted this out as soon as this game went final. He said, you need to have NIL to have a chance to have a good team in college basketball, but NIL alone does not guarantee you have a good team. That was tweeted directly after the Kansas game, and that is as much of a shot as John Rothstein is ever going to send, but it's not a shot because it's the truth. It was not a secret that Kansas probably spent as much money in NIL as just about anybody in college basketball this year. Remember, Bill Self, after last season, famously said, we've been working on next season for a month. We defended him at this time last year. I said, listen, give Bill Self an offseason. He'll figure it out. Adds AJ Storr, adds Rylan Griffin, adds, who else am I missing? He adds the Coit kid. I know that. AJ Storr, Rylan Griffin, Zeke Mayo. And then, of course, brings back Hunter Dickinson, and it simply doesn't work. And so I bring it up. Producer Matt, did I send you my follow-up tweet to Rothstein's tweet? I can't remember what I sent you, what I didn't. Rothstein saying that NIL gives you a chance. You need NIL to have a chance to have a good team in college basketball, but NIL alone does not guarantee you a good team. That is what I said in response to that. This is a polite way of saying Kansas is a payroll higher than the 99 Yankees, and it resulted in a first-round tournament loss, okay? I also followed up by saying, we might have to have they spent money so recklessly at Kansas this year. We might have to have Elon and Doge investigate, but that's another conversation for another day. We don't talk politics on this show, but I just bring it up because this is a disaster. So I think this is an inflection point for Bill Self and his career. Because listen, and I said it when I was at BYU, this is a guy that throughout his career is a guy that basically has been, listen, whatever you think of Bill Self, he is a Hall of Famer. He is an incredible coach. He is incredible at what he does, okay? But at the same time, here is the bottom line. The bottom line is very simple. The bottom line is that he has not adjusted well to the portal era, but I think more than being unable to adjust to the portal era, I think the issue is he is a guy that is always going to be better when he has guys in his program for 2, 3, 4 years. We talked about it after the BYU loss. This is a guy that historically was great when he had a Frank Mason for 2 or 3 years, guy off the bench. Then he's a sixth man. Then he's a starter. Then he's an all-conference guy by the end of the year, by the end of his career. Devontae Graham, you go on and on down the list. Sharon Collins, on and on down the list. This era has not been kind to Bill Self as he continues to struggle. And I think, he's at the point in his career where he's having trouble figuring out this NIL thing. Again, go through the career. Christian Brown. I flipped on an NBA game by accident the other day. Christian Brown was balling for the Denver Nuggets. That's a guy that I don't know if Bill Self has in this program right now. You look at what he has done in the portal, it's been miss after miss after miss. First of all, just not enough three-point shooting. Now, I think he tried to address that. Rylan Griffin came from Alabama. Rylan Griffin was worse this year at Kansas than he was at Alabama last year. Remember, Rylan Griffin left a Final Four team to go to Kansas and somehow got worse when he was at Kansas this year. AJ Storr was the biggest portal whiff of maybe the portal era. I had him as my number 1 ranked portal player last year. By the way, I had Kadari Richmond number 2. Kadari Richmond's a baller. He's awesome. He just led St. John's to its first tournament win since 2000. And so for Bill Self, I think he has to figure out a way to kind of find that balance of it's okay to plug a hole or two in the portal, but also you have to develop guys in your program so that they are ready to go and that they understand what you want and what you expect. Now that the season's over, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was at BYU, I heard this story not from anybody at BYU, but apparently, BYU, that was as hot of a ticket as they have ever seen when they had Kansas in town in mid-February. My understanding, the whispers that I heard, is that Bill Self told his locker room, guys, you're walking into a snake pit. This is the most expensive ticket in school history. And nobody in that locker room even understood what that meant. In other words, they didn't realize that, we're Kansas. We have Kansas on the front of our jerseys, and they're coming to watch us, and they're coming to beat us if we don't come ready to play. And clearly they did not come ready to play. And so you look at Self, I think it's going to be an interesting couple years for him because he doesn't seem to want to go down without a fight. We talk about a guy like Calipari being unable to adjust to this era. Calipari looks pretty good compared to Bill Self. Even Calipari last year got a 2 seed, like a 3 seed at Kentucky, finished second in the SEC. Bill Self struggled last year. This year it was the same. And it's just portal whiff after portal whiff after portal whiff. I think the other interesting thing, couple things. One, Hunter Dickinson. Listen, I feel bad placing blame on one guy, but I don't think it's hyperbole to say he's probably one of the highest paid players in college basketball this year. 11 points, 6 rebounds. I believe he had 2 points in the second half. I mean, Steve Lapis literally said during the broadcast, we haven't heard from Hunter Dickinson at all this second half. So was it a Hunter Dickinson thing? Was it a chemistry thing? Was it a portal thing? I don't know. But it's like, man, you got to figure things out in a hurry because this NIL stuff isn't going anywhere. And you have to find a way to build a program in this era when you're a coach in Bill Self that has been at your best with 2, 3, 4-year guys in your program. So it'll be interesting to see. In Self's defense, the one thing I will say, I don't know if he had an NBA player on his roster this year. Now, part of that is, again, evaluation, development, whatever. But the other part is you're bringing in an NBA player in Darren Peterson next year. Darren Peterson is as good as anybody in in high school basketball right now. I love AJ DeBonsa. I love Cam Boozer. I love Nate Ament. Darren Peterson's a dog. And if you can't do it with Darren Peterson, I don't know what to tell you. So it'll be interesting to see what the next move for Kansas is. He's going to have to go back in the portal, but he's got to figure out a way to retain guys and develop them because that's what's missing. I mentioned it a minute ago. Zuby Ejiofor was in that program, and he forced him out to bring in Hunter Dickinson. I don't know that Zuby Ejiofor is the answer to all of their questions, but I think it's a metaphor for you had a dude that wanted to be there, and you recruited right over him, and you brought in a guy that did nothing to contribute to high-level winning at Kansas. Again, I could go on. The point I'm trying to make, Kansas, kind of a disaster right now, and you look at the Big 12. Houston ain't going anywhere. BYU ain't going anywhere. Iowa State ain't going anywhere. I think Arizona, despite some ups and downs, I was actually impressed by them in the Big 12 this year. So it is going to be fascinating to see what happens at Kansas. But yeah, man, it's a disappointing night, and they are just sideways right now. Sideways as a program. They lose this game.